Well, I got a lot of pressure from, my family, my grandmother specifically, like, you've got to go to college, you've got to get a degree. And, because on my mom's side of the family, like, long line of doctors, like, everybody had a degree. And most of them had master's degrees. So it was expected that, like, I've got to go to college, I've got to go and, follow that traditional path. And kind of the way that I had been raised and grown up and saw, I was like, wait, I don't know what I want to do. I don't want to go tens of thousands of dollars in debt for something that I don't know what I want to do. Like, I kind of want to just get out and kind of feel around and explore a little bit. And then maybe I'll go back to college when I'm more confident in it. And so that was later on the PCC, the EMT degree or certificate, excuse me. That was that decision of like, okay, yeah, I think I'm ready. I think I'm ready to pursue this. And that took a couple of years of just being in the workforce and kind of earning money. And luckily that EMT certificate was all on grants. I didn't have to pay for any of those classes. I had to pay for some of the tests and stuff, but all the classes and prereqs was all done on grants, which I felt very blessed for. And then after the degree or certificate, excuse me, after the certificate, I didn't pursue it. I had kind of a very interesting moment in my ride-alongs and shadows. I was in an ambulance for 13 hours, and we didn't respond to a single call.
Damn.
We kind of drove people back and forth from the VA's office in Vancouver, but we didn't respond to a single call. Didn't have to do a welfare check or, nothing. No cats in the tree even. Like, there was nothing. And the paramedics that I was riding with were like, I've been on this job for 12 years and I've never had a day like this.
Really?
Yeah. And they're like, I'm sorry. Like, we wanted to show you some action. We wanted to show you, like, what was actually going on, but,
nothing to show you.
Nothing to show you. And it's through the school, so there's no do-overs. Like, you kind of get one chance to do it. Okay. And it was the same thing in the emergency room. I did do a 12-hour shadow in the emergency room. Nobody came in. Nobody left. Nobody crashed. I just kind of sat there and watched them, like, go through the charts and see the computers. But they're like, yeah, some days are just like this. Sorry. Like, it's...
Okay.
And it was interesting to have both of those. I kind of took it as a sign, like, okay, maybe I'm not supposed to see somebody in such a bad state.
This early.
Yeah. And I know I took it to heart. It's like, what if I did see somebody, like, what if I did see somebody die on the job? How many of those can you take as a person before it really starts to hit you? And so I started to second guess my decision to get a certificate and become an EMT and maybe go through with the paramedic. I was like, would this break me as a person? And, the idea is you're there to help people, right? You're there to save people when they need it. But the other part of the job is, people die while you're there.
Yeah, you see very gruesome things.
Yeah, you do
on a daily basis.
And so that was kind of frightening, and it was something that I hadn't really thought about, and it scared me away from it. It scared me away from a career. In that. But I'm very grateful for the knowledge. I still have a lot of the knowledge, even though my certificate has expired. Like, I know how to handle one of those situations. I know what to look for if somebody's in a bad spot. So I think in the future, as a dad, that'll help me out to think through those things if that ever comes to be. Out in the woods, very helpful when there isn't somebody always there that you can just call, hey, is there a doctor? No, there's only a bear.
That's that.
And the bear's not going to splint your arm for you. Like, yeah.
It'll split your face apart.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Easily. And just obviously when you did your time with the band, then you didn't really have this training yet. But I'm just thinking, like, if something were to happen to you guys as you're doing your dispersed camping, it's like, what's your plan? What's your plan B?
Right. I mean, I've got a first aid kit in my car. I've got another first aid kit, like, in my pack. I think I've got like 3 first aid kits somewhere around, always, just ready to go.
Yeah. That's definitely the benefit of having you anywhere we go.
And so. My buddy he's got a Garmin GPS unit, which if you sign up for the service, it covers, I think it's $15,000 in life flight or medical coverage.
Nice.
So, like, if you have to hit that SOS button, the insurance is through the Garmin, which is a really cool service if they have to life flight you out of there. Because, like, ambulances are expensive. Helicopters are really expensive.
Fun to probably ride in, but not in the circumstance of you riding because you're hurt.
Yeah.
Let's keep that out of there. it doesn't seem like there is a whole lot of time that I know we've talked about so far of you just kind of, enjoying yourself by yourself. You're kind of doing the EMT stuff with someone else. Or doing the band with your friends.
Mm-hmm.
In high school, you had your art classes or your theater class and
Mm-hmm.
art centric friends. How did you find that comfortability in kind of just doing things on your own?
There's a lot of trial and error. It was really through just kind of a lot of hardships and feeling lonely at times and feeling bad about that.
I mean, COVID was kind of a lot for a lot of people.
It was a lot for a lot of people.
How was that time for you then?
I was working the whole time. I was working in retail at a hardware store, and so we were the busiest we'd ever been. Because everybody who's supposed to stay at home wants to work on their home and do home projects.
Yeah.
So everybody goes to the hardware store.
Yeah.
And that was very stressful because there were always people around, and there's this fear of the pandemic and of getting sick. Meanwhile, you're interacting with so many people in the public and dealing with drivers delivering things and people like picking things up and just the transfer of goods.
Yeah.
Luckily, I walked away unscathed. Still haven't had COVID yet.
Yeah. I'm with you. Okay, so then you weren't that much alone, so you were able to still be around people, not maybe your own people, but so then when you got off work and then you're tired, or again, if you were living with someone, I'm sure that was fine, but it's like, how do you kind of reconnect with yourself after having to potentially expose yourself to so many things during the pandemic while working at a hardware store, and then how did you just be like, okay, I'm fine? Did you ever panic like that when it came to the pandemic?
Yeah, I did. Especially worrying about, my parents. My parents are kind of high risk. They're getting a little bit older, so there was definitely that panic. And then there were some unhealthy coping mechanisms for being alone. Drinking being one of them. I think a lot of people developed an alcohol addiction during the pandemic.
A little bit. You might have supplied them. No, I'm kidding.
So there was, just that was a factor, but I also turned to music a lot. There was, yes, my time playing with a band and playing with a group, but that only developed because I had spent time just on my own, just kind of doing what I wanted to and fiddle farting around on a guitar and not making good sounds, but just experimenting and doing things. During the pandemic, I bought a cello, which I'd never played before, and I still don't know how to play it. Never played anything with a bow.
It's just something pretty to look at then.
It is, yeah, it's gorgeous. But it was that experimentation of, okay, you know what, I'm gonna try something new.
Yeah.
And I've got a lot of half finished like art projects, kind of at home that I picked up and fiddled around with just to kind of pass the time and keep my mind active.
Yeah. Okay.